Thank you for joining us here on the National Communications Network as we continue our conversations on Budget 2024. Budget 2024 is titled or is under the theme Staying the Course, Building Prosperity for All. To have this discussion with me, I have in studio the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Mohabir Anil Nandlall. Minister Nandlall, thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Minister, $1.146 trillion is the budget total for 2024. Numbers in this regard are being thrown around. We hear so much being allocated to various sectors. But the question that is on the mind of probably every Guyanese, what is in it for the common man?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this important discussion. I believe a convenient point to commence is to appreciate that, like any other budget in any other country, the 2024 budget for Guyana must be situated in a context.
Yeah.
We came to office in 2020 based upon a manifesto presented to the electorate, which the electorate bought and elected us to implement. This is our fourth year in that 5-year government term. So the 2024 budget is the fourth incarnation of our annual 5-year plan, which we promised in that manifesto, upon which we were elected. So a sensible thing for the electorate to do, to make us responsible and to hold us accountable, is to go back to the manifesto and to see whether the promises that we have made, upon which they elected us, are being implemented in the 4 years that we have been in office, and to grade us based upon our track record of the promises we made and what percentage of them we have implemented and how well we are faring in relation to the implementation of the future promises that are left unimplemented. That is accountable and democratic governance. And that is how I believe the electorate should view us. I believe that if that analysis is being done or is done, the PPP will score the highest possible mark based upon budget 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and now 2024.
Yeah.
Indeed, I will contend, and I have no doubt that the electorate will agree, once they do the analysis that I'm inviting them to do, that we have surpassed all of our promises and we have surpassed all of our targets so far, taking 2024 even to further heights. We are now implementing promises that we were supposed to implement in 2025 in 2024 by this budget. Now, how have we arrived at this good place? It must be understood that skillful management of the economy, competent and well thought out policies, courageous and innovative thinking, and a philosophy that places the people's interest as a paramount priority are what would have informed the management of the country to make us reach this destination where we are. This budget, like every other budget, places major emphasis on the social sectors and in the infrastructural sectors, while at the same time grants to the populace, in particular the poor, the vulnerable, the working people, women, and our youths, immediate measures that will have a positive and tangible effect on their day-to-day lives and livelihood. To be able to do that, as I said, a combination of factors must be assessed. Like every country, Guyana operates in a global environment. In this global environment, there are factors that will directly and indirectly affect your management of the economy, and these are factors over which you have no control. So you have an international climate and international prevailing circumstances that would impact your ability to deliver your own agenda and your own promises. And you have no control. You did not cause these factors to take place. You did not bring about these circumstances, but you have to cope with them and be able to navigate them and the challenges that they present and still be able to deliver your budget and the promises that you have made in your manifesto. So, in the international environment, you have wars taking place in several parts of the world that are affecting food production, affecting the production of energy, gas, natural gas, petroleum, that are then you have climate change driven phenomena that also have an impact on international trade and international financing and economics. You have factors that are affecting the transportation of goods and services. So you have problems at the Suez Canal and right here in Latin America, the Panama Canal, that has caused a tremendous slowing down in the transportation process of goods that are required for you to implement your promise and plans. The combination of these external factors have a direct impact on your ability because it leads to increase in the price of goods and services, which increase you have to be resilient against. Because at the end of the day, we are still a large importer of many of the things that we consume. And we have to navigate in this difficult and challenging international climate and environment and still be able to deliver the type of budget that we have delivered. Now, against that international backdrop and those challenges that international environment has created, we have been able to produce the largest budget ever in the history of Guyana. 1.1 trillion. We used to be producing budgets in the past in the billions. We are now in the trillions, despite the challenges that I've spoken about. You will look around the Caribbean because budgets tend to be presented around the same time. And you will see that the Guyana's budget will stand out among the rest of the Caribbean. And I will show you why. Philosophically, our government is grounded in certain principles based upon our political orientation. And those principles prioritize people as the raison d'etre of governance. Why we are in government? We are in government for no other reason but to serve our people and make their lives and livelihood better. And that is the central theme and central pillar that philosophically guides every one of our policies, every one of our laws, and every decision that we make. Translate that or applying that to the budget, you will see that over 75 or 80% of the $1.1 trillion are allocated to the social sectors of our country, because the social sectors of our country are the sectors that directly provide goods and services to the largest demographics of our country. So, one of our largest allocation is in the health sector. Keeping our people healthy and providing quality health care is of paramount importance and has always been of paramount importance to our government, having regard to the philosophical underpinnings to which I've made reference. So health has one of the largest, 100 and something billion allocated. Another large area of allocation is our education sector. Why? Because an investment in our education is an investment in empowering our people, is an investment in our youth, and our youth is our most precious asset, and it's an investment in our young people and an investment in our future, because our young people are our future.
Right.
So we have billions of dollars going into the building of new schools, renovation of new schools, supplying of meals program, we care cash grant program, gold scholarship program, textbooks, etc., etc. Another area of major priority is housing and water, because it's our pledge and promise to our people that at the end of the 5-year period, we want 50,000 50,000 Guyanese families to own their own homes in this 5-year period. And we are well on our way. And water, housing and water is one ministry. It is our pledge that we will work to ensure that every Guyanese, wherever he or she is geographically located, would have access to potable water. So we are investing heavily in the building of wells right across, and water treatment plants right across the length and breadth of our country. So there is another 100 and something billion in that sector. Move on to agriculture. Agriculture we have identified as the base of our economy, not oil and gas. Oil and gas is providing a lot of revenue at this point in time, but that's an exhaustible resource. We plan to manage our economy in such a way that we do not place undue reliance on the oil and gas sector, that we diversify our economy as far as possible, expanding in our traditional crops, but going to new areas. Nearly $100 billion have been allocated for the agri sector. The agri sector lubricates our economy. It is the sector that provides more jobs than any other sector. It is a sector that will allow us to ensure food security, not only in Guyana, but across the Caribbean. And you see we are making vital and strategic linkages with Trinidad and Barbados, with the establishment of a joint company that will transship vegetables and food from Guyana. We are working out with a similar arrangement with the government of Aruba, and of course we will expand this throughout the Caribbean. We have moved into large-scale soya production and, and many other crops that will make our poultry industry self-sufficient.
Right.
So agriculture creates jobs. Then we move into infrastructure.
Right.
We have to build our country to move it from the state that it is in to the modern society that we want to create. When I was growing up, and people must understand from where we started, we didn't go in. Guyana is not a country where the roads were built. Like in other countries, 40 years ago you had highways, you had roads in the country areas, you had bridges across the necessary rivers and all the other linkages. We didn't have that. When we took over in 1992, the country was bankrupt and you had more dams permeating the country. We are moving away from that and we are building road linkages right across the length and breadth of our country. So we have the Linden-Soesdijk Highway we are going to do back. The Linden to Mabura Road is under construction. Then we'll do the other phase from Mabura going to Lethem. The Schooner to Crane Highway is under construction. We are doing from Crane to Parika when that is completed. You have several arteries now being built along the east bank of the Demerara, alternative to the conventional East Bank Road. We have the Mandela Extension, we have the Heroes Highway, we have a connection that will take us to the east coast of the Demerara, go right now in Conversation Tree. We are putting another ingress from the East Coast Highway straight into Lamaha Gardens. We are doing back, beautifying all the streets in Guyana. Right across, tens of thousands of community roads are being done. The Kanji to Crabwood Creek Highway is being redone. The East Coast Highway is being redone. The railway embankment 4-lane highway is being redone. All of this at the same time. Demerara Harbour Bridge. We are building a new link, river link, from Lagrange all the way to Republic Gardens on the east bank of the river, with a flyover there that will, when you land from the bridge, you can go in 5 directions at the same time. That is the type of vision that we are building out in the infrastructure. I hear the opposition talking about people don't eat roads. Yeah. No, they don't eat roads, but roads will make them eat. Because these roads are not built for luxury. These roads, where every time we build a road, we open new vistas of land. We create new opportunities for employment and for business opportunities. We are building out our ports now because we are going to be a large transshipment point, both in and out. We have to dredge all our major rivers. We are working on the creation of a modern port authority to modernize our ports. We have to got place now, build ports where big ships got to come. We are building out the shore-based facilities. 3 are under construction right now as I speak. In the tourism and hospitality sector, you have a large expenditure because we are focusing now on tourism. Guyana is now a destination that is sought after. People from all over the world who never heard about Guyana are hearing about Guyana now and they want to come. We have to build that product. We have 8 5-star hotels under construction right now. You think if these investors, they're all international investors, the Marriott, the Crown Plaza, the Hilton, the Holiday Inn, Radisson, you think if these international investors who manage chain hotels across the globe, if they were not confident in the economy of Guyana, if they were not comfortable with the prospects of Guyana, they would have been pumping millions and millions of US dollars here? No. So we have to now, you can't have the people build millions of dollars in hotels in a shanty town. We have to build up the environ now that will make this hotel be situated in a place that accommodates and is accommodating for a five-star hotel. And that's building up our country. In any event, do you want to, for the rest of your life, to live in mud road? Or you want to be driving? Look at the rate that our people are owning vehicles now. We have a problem. There's an over-importation and use of vehicles in the country when you compare it with the road network. So you have traffic jams anywhere. We have to build infrastructure. We are a visionary government. So when you hear them talk about, oh Lord, look how much money for infrastructure. Yes, that is our intention. We want roads to drive into the back dams because we are opening new lands. So you can now drive from the Quarantine Highway at 58 Village and drive all the way to 𝐁𝐔𝐃𝐆𝐄. That's about 35 miles of bitumen road. We have built that. 2 places. We are building roads where roads have never been built since Guyana was discovered. People are driving now on roads and seeing lands that they never saw, their foreparents never saw, because it was a bush, it was abandoned lands. We are opening these lands now. It calls for money. Fortunately, we have the money. Why not spend it? So, my friend, let me make this vital point.
Sure.
We have been able to do all of that. All of those expenditures and allocations that I am referring to without a single new tax or without a single increase in any existing taxes. That is not an ordinary achievement, my friend. That is what I'm speaking about. That is management of our country in accordance with the imperatives that I earlier outlined in a hostile international environment. And we have been able to accomplish this. Now, let's just digress a little to compare with the APNU AFC.
Yeah.
Now you will hear them from Monday in the parliament. They will suddenly become the champions of the people. They will champion the cause of the pensioners. They will champion the cause of the ordinary working people. They will champion the cause of the workers, the public servants. They will champion the cause of the sugar workers. They will champion the cause of our children. So let us examine what they did when they were in government. They got into government in March of 2015.
Yeah.
March. Remember the election was early March? They were sworn in. They had a big sport at the stadium by the end of March, remember? Big party fete at the stadium where they bring in a lot of people from Brooklyn, Atlanta, Washington, and they had a large fete. Now that's what they're good for. Spend the money and wine and dance and so on. So that's one of the first things that they did. Right? That thing cost about $50 million. That was the budgetary cost at the time. Their own accounts. Now, they didn't do a day work yet. They did not do a day work yet, but they gyrate, eat, and sport $50 million at the stadium. Now, that singular event inspired and became a pattern of how their thinking was and how their performance was for the next 5 years. No investment in wealth creation. No new investment, not one. Not one. Exxon came under us. We were in government when Exxon came here. Not one. But they're chased out by Shanlin. They're chased out by Rama. They closed down dozens of businesses in the country. They closed down sugar. They put 7,500 sugar workers on the breadline. And I'll put it in a more perspective. Their policies were not designed to create wealth or employment. And you are not in doubt. The president himself said that. Nazima Raghubir asked him at an interview. He said, Mr. President, there is a huge billboard at Stabrook Market with you and the Prime Minister faces on the billboard. And the billboard says, job creation for the graduates of UG. You are now in office. 2 years have passed. What are your plans for job creation for the graduates of UG? And the man honestly said, we are not in the business of job creation. The graduates of UG can do what the people at Stabrook are doing. They can sell cocoa rice, they can sell plantain chip, and they can start their own business. They can't look to government for employment. Now, brother, I didn't say so. The head of their government said so. So there is their policy on job creation. Every year in their budget, they finance their budget through increase in taxation and reduction in disposable income for the population. So they quashed all the poverty alleviation measures that were in our budget previously. They took away the subsidy from pensioners for GPL and GWI. They imposed VAT on water, school supply, medical supply, agriculture supply, and a whole host of other supplies. Though they reduced it by 2%, they increased the net tenfold. So the 2% meant nothing. You are paying more net VAT than anything else. They took away the bonus from public servants, from the army officers, from the police officers. They put 7,500 sugar workers on the streets. They raised the land rents for the rice farmers across the country by 3,000%. By 3,000%. Plus they serve notices on about 400 rice farmers in the MMA scheme. And they want their rent up front. So the thing became from $300 per acre to about $15,000 per acre. So before you plant 100 acres of rice, you had to get over $1 million and something to pay up front. That you're not throw one seed paddy yet. That was their management of the economy. They imposed on the backs of Guyanese over 200 new tax and fees. I said in the parliament, they tax from man to mule. The horse cart man get a taxation. The man who carried the dead got a tax. Every one of these taxes took away money from the pockets of the people. It has depleted their disposable income. Every one of these measures that they imposed took away disposable income from the people. They take away the children cash grant. But you will hear them in the parliament how they love the children and they want more cash grant. We should have given $50,000 cash grant, but they didn't give a cent. They took it away. They took away the subsidy from the old people, but you will hear them scream about pension rights. They took away the bonuses from the disciplinary service people, but you will hear them champion the cause of the discipline service. These people have no credibility whatsoever, and they should be the last to speak about a government. But the most important thing they did after the sport at the stadium, in March. In June, the next major decision they made is that they increased their salary by 100%. Their own salary. So from jumpstart, after they done drink, eat, and sport, they come home, they're tired. Remember, they didn't do a day work yet. The next day they got to work, they increase their salary by 100%. And that is their story, my friend. And that's what the electorate and the people listening to us must understand. Let's go to our budget now.
Yeah, of course.
So, cost of living measures. And I spoke broadly, so let me deal with the measures now. From the time we entered government, fuel prices have been rising. The international market has always been volatile in the fuel sector. We have been insulating the end user in Guyana, which is every single Guyanese almost, from the shocks of that fluctuating price on the world market. Since 2022, we have been injecting a measure whereby we remove all the taxes that the government should charge on fuel, diesel, petrol, diesel, and kerosene. No taxes at all. So your gas price at the pump has not changed significantly since 2020. But the price on the world market has skyrocketed many times, up and down, up and down. You have not faced that. Why? The government has established a buffer for you. Your light bill, more than 70% of the running cost of GPL is the acquisition of fuel. Your light bill and everyone light bill who listening to this program has not increased. Despite fuel that constitutes about 60% of GPL running expenditure has gone up by over 45 or 50%. Your light bill has not gone up by $1. Why? The government has been subsidizing. This year we will continue to do that, and it will cost us $40 billion.
And this is in relation to disposable income.
And this is every time we do one of this, you have more money to spend. When you buy less, when you pay less for gas, now more you got to spend for your children. Now more you got to spend on yourself. That is what disposable income is. And that's what people must understand with these measures. So let's go to reduction of freight charges. I spoke about the international freight charges astronomically increasing due to the global pandemic, COVID-19. I gave the explanation last night on another program that I imported containers during that period. Prior to COVID, to bring a container from China, it cost me $5,000 US dollars in freight charges. When the COVID hit, it rose from 5,000 to 18,000 US dollars. 3.5 times more I was paying for a container. Freight charges. What we did when we came into government from 2020, 2021, we used a pre-COVID rate of freight for the calculation of duties and VAT. Because you know how you calculate duties is based upon the cost of the goods and the cost of freight. We froze the cost of freight to a pre-pandemic period. We can't control the price. So we can't tell a shipper how much to charge for a container to Guyana. But if we calculate the taxes that the government has to receive based upon a fixed pre-COVID price, we are bringing down the taxes. So you're paying less. Yeah. Because if we allow that freight to be added to the value of the goods for the purpose of calculating duty and VAT, then the cost of the goods goes up. So everything that you buy there is cheaper because of that measure. every imported item into this country. That is costing us $6 billion a year, and we are doing that for 2024. The part-time job, 10 billion will be allocated. We allocated 6 billion last year, and over 15,000 people were employed. We are increasing the number now. We have raised it to 10 billion. Now, these people are working for 10 days a month in their own community. These are people who never employed, you know. They're getting $40,000 tax-free. So the family income increases by $40,000 per month. And this is money that is going to be spent right in the village. This will financially energize every village economy across this country. Let me just give you another example how this money can be used. In the low-income housing financing arrangement that we are doing across the country, when you buy a low-income house, you go to NBS and you get financing. Because of the government's intervention, you get low-income financing, you get low interest rate. Your installment is somewhere about 32 to 35,000. This 40,000, if you get if you fall in the government's part-time job program, will pay your mortgage. And the rest of your family's income remains untouched. You see how these measures apply across the board? But you will hear the opposition will say, there is nothing in the budget for people. There is nothing in the budget for anybody. And you hear about 3 measures only that is putting billions back into the pocket of the ordinary people. Support for small businesses. Again, we have gone to the bank and we have worked out a facility whereby small businesses can go to the bank and take a loan at an interest rate. The loan is about 5 million maximum with an interest rate of 3.5%. Now, if you go to the bank ordinarily to take a loan, you have to pay between 9 to 14%.
Wow.
That's the acceptable rate of interest now. Here, for business, this business facility now that we have negotiated, you get 5 million to start your small business or expand your small business, but your interest is 3.5%. You know what the government borrowing money for on the international market? Nearly 6% US dollars. 3.5% Guyana dollars we are negotiating for the commercial bank. Look at how much money extra we are putting in your pocket. Removal of duty and VAT on sports, equipment and technology. We are building, sports is very crucial to our country. Provides recreational options for our people. It improves our nation's health.
Yeah.
It's a healthy and clean way of recreation, and it's an investment in the young people of our country. So, beginning from last year, we have started to refurbish and rehabilitate over 1,000 grounds across the country, equipping them with fence, floodlights, pavilions. Some of the larger grounds are getting even more additional facilities. But those are the minimum that we are giving, right? So the major community centers are going to get even grander facilities. But the smaller community centers, at least we are putting the basics in. There's 1,000 grounds across the country. We are building 3 stadia. One in Linden, the construction has already started. One at New Amsterdam, and one at Anna Regina. In the 3 counties. In addition now, VAT is being removed and duty from sports equipment. So you want to buy a tennis racket, you want to buy a cricket bat, a squash racket, no VAT, no duty. Again, is that ordinary people? You will hear them tell you, they will hear the opposition, only friends and families will benefit. I don't have a friend nor a family in sports. You have anybody?
Just me.
Just you. Well, exactly. You are not my friend. You are not my family. But you will benefit from this measure. And many of their supporters are sports inclined people. They will all benefit from this. But you will hear them say that this is a friend and family. They got some phrases that they keep using. Oh, and the other one is that these are corruption measures. There's an opportunity for there to be corruption. So I'm going to deal with that just now. We took off VAT from data from the time we come into government. Right? And internet. Personal data at residences, on phones, on cell phones, and data at your residence. Now we are taking off VAT and duty on all spare parts and accessories for the cell phone. Now, is only my friend and family got a cell phone? Every one of them in that parliament would have a cell phone. Some of them have 4 or 5. When they go to buy a charger, would they not benefit? Every one of their supporters. But they will never credit this as a good measure. Increase in old age pension. It moved by 75%. 76,000 people are going to benefit from this. So we move it from 20,500 in 2020 to 33,000. It will now be increased from 33,000 to 36,000. Now they are saying, I hear them shouting, oh Lord, what $3,000 can do? Is that $3,000 in isolation? You have to attach this $3,000 to all the other measures. The old people don't live in Mercury and Pluto. They live here. And all the other measures that I'm speaking about, they will benefit from. So this is an additional 3,000. But let me pause here. I did some thinking. And I was thinking, you know, they have us pay, we have to pay about $2.5 million to defend the parking meter case.
Yes.
A contract that was entered into under their government.
Right.
2.5 million, right, divided by 76,000. You know, it would give each old age pensioner 6 additional thousand to this tree. So it could have been 9,000 instead of 3,000 if we didn't have to pay for the parking meter disaster that they have put us in. I just paused it to make that point. Public assistance. Again, 35,000 people will benefit from this measure. And the measure is $9,000 we gave in 2020, and we are raising that to $16,000 per month in 2023. $16,000, and every disabled person or especially abled person will get this measure. 35,000 people will benefit. Old people are here too. You see how myopic their understanding is? 1.2 billion will be spent here. I care. We are giving over 205,000 school children and 76,000 pensioners a $3,000 voucher each to test their eyes. This is another 3,000 that the old people will get. And 205,000 children are eligible. Now, look at the public-private partnership. They're not going to the public hospital to test the eye. They're going to all the optical places in the country. So you see how the private sector making money? I don't have a family nor a friend who owns an optical place. You understand? That is the myopic nature of these people. And that is why the farther away they are kept from government, the better for the people of Guyana. And when they're ready to buy the spectacles, they get another $15,000 voucher to pay towards the spectacles. They will go to PNC people to buy the spectacles too. Are you telling me that there is not one PNC optical place in the country? They shouldn't have any, but I'm sure there is. So $1.18 billion going in that regard. Cervical cancer. We are giving an 8,000 voucher to every person who is affected and who needs a test to be done for cervical cancer. Are you telling me that ordinary PNC supporters are not affected by this cervical cancer and they will not benefit? I don't have a friend or a family, as far as I am aware, who have cervical cancer. Let me go to this school grant. We had moved, remember we had it at 10,000.
Yeah.
They abolish it. They abolish it. We moved it to 20,000 when we came in. Last year was 35,000. It's gone to 40,000 now. And that's in addition to the 5,000 uniform voucher. 205,000 children will get this. $40,000 and another 5,000, so 45,000. You will hear them will say this is nothing. But what did they do? They took it away from the children. Survivors' pension at NIS, that has also increased to 21,000 from some 17,000. So if the husband dies, who was the primary pensioner, his wife, the spouse, is entitled to survivor's benefit. The minimum pension at NIS has been increased from $35,000 to $43,000. These are billions and billions of dollars that we are putting into the pockets of people. And the income tax threshold, we have consistently moved it. So it is now at $100,000. So if you're earning $100,000, well, if you are earning whatever it is that you're earning, your first $100,000 is exempt from income tax. So if you're earning $150,000, only $50,000 you will have to pay income tax on. $100,000 of your salary is tax-free. That's 28%. It's $28,000 you're getting back in your pocket. Were you to pay taxes on that? Every Guyanese. Income tax threshold and the debt write-off at the University of Guyana. Remember, we promised free education. We promised within a 5-year period. This year, we will begin to implement it. And we are beginning to write off the existing loans. Not to mention about $38 to $40 billion on the Gold Scholarship Program, where we are sending our people to study online, free, paying various universities in the world in a variety of educational and vocational disciplines and pursuits. Government is shouldering the costs for all these measures. Yet you will hear that the budget will not create a single job. My friend, Guyana is a very small place. 750,000 people. Can you imagine the explosion of economic and commercial activity that will take place? Just from the government spending, not private sector spending, just with the injection of $1.1 trillion into this economy. Who will benefit, man? Tell me who will benefit from this explosion. All the contracts that will have to be awarded, who will get them? Not Guyanese. Who will be employed by the contractors? Not Guyanese. Who will be, where will the materials be bought from? Not locally. Not Guyanese businesses will benefit from these. Who will drive the truck to bring the sand? Where will the sand be bought from to do the construction? And I can go through it phase by phase. Where is the money going? Are these expenditures not going to create jobs? And that is in addition to the training opportunities and the job creating opportunities that we are providing for directly. Are not Guyanese going to benefit from these things? Yes, we are running out of labor and we are importing and we may have to import more. But our primary source of supply of labor remains Guyana. So, but you will hear this empty, baseless, reckless rhetoric. I see one of them said that there is no social justice and economic justice in the budget. What does that even mean? He wants to be philosophical. He wants to be sophisticated. So the budget doesn't have social and economic justice. I don't know, there's a justice document. There's a national budget.
Yeah.
It creates a platform for every conceivable thing in this country. It makes the largest allocation ever in the history of Guyana towards the justice sector.
And I want you briefly, before we wrap up our conversation for today, AG, to talk a little bit about the legal affairs sector and some of the improvements we can see in justice in the coming year.
Like every other sector in the country, the legal sector is undergoing a transformation. From a physical perspective, we are building new courthouses right across the length and breadth of Guyana. We are replacing the old ones with new ones. And where courthouses never existed before, we are constructing. So there's construction going on at Timeri, where we will build a magistrate's court for the first time. Construction going on at Friendship on the east bank of the Demerara, where we are building a magistrate's court for the first time. At Providence, a magistrate court will be constructed in this budget. We have completed construction of a magistrate's court at Vigilance. Maikoni and Kovanjan, massive renovations will be completed at the magistrate's court there. Anna Regina, we are doing a magistrate's court. Mabaruma, we are doing a magistrate's court, about to be completed. Port Kaituma, we are doing a magistrate's court, about to be completed. Madhya, we have constructed a brand new edifice, and the magistrate's court will be completed during the course of this year. We have just expanded the Court of Appeal building to accommodate 2 courts. Since that building was constructed and since the Court of Appeal was opened in 1966, it had 1 courtroom. It now has 2 courtrooms, so you can have 2 sittings of the court at the same time. The recruitment of judges have begun. So we are going to get a replenishment of judicial stocks. 9 judges can now be appointed at the Court of Appeal because of the amendments that we have passed in 2023. It will allow for 2 sittings of the court at the same time. 3, and you still have 3 extra judges. I would like to see the judges sit itinerantly in Berbice and in Essequibo as appeal court. So the appeal court can move to Berbice, sit in the High Court building, and dispose of all the appeals there at periodic intervals. I want to see the same for Essequibo. We have to get land court judges in Berbice. They have not been done. There have not been any since about 8 years. We got to get land court judges recruited. That process is ongoing. We have financed the establishment of a system within the judiciary that will allow for e-filing of documents and e-litigation. You heard the Chancellor made that disclosure. We are financing that. All the courts that I'm telling you about, we are financing that, the government, because we believe that the justice sector is indispensable to the social advancement and the economic transformation of our country. At my ministry, we have a number of legislation that we have to pass this year. I've been speaking about them all the time. A number of programs will be unfolded this year. The new laws will come. The new law reports will come. And we are working on a whole host of legislation that are integrally entwined to the commercial and economic sectors of our country. You see, when you have a plan, you now have to create a framework to implement that plan. That framework is invariably a legislative framework. So almost every important measure that we are implementing, you need a legal framework established within which it can operate or upon which it can be constructed. So that's why we had to do a single window law for the single window. We had to do a condominium law for the condominium policy that we are implementing. We had to do we are doing a new public health act. We had to do a new mental health act. We had to do data protection act to deal with the data management in the country. Because we are doing this new resident card, we had to get a legislation to do that. I spoke about the port authorities. We have to get a port authority act to regulate the way ports are to be operated. We are moving towards food security. We have 3 pieces of legislation that we are working that will regulate the way we package and process food for the purpose of export. We have a brand new Food and Drugs Act because ours is antiquated. We got new modern medical technology and so on. We have to embrace these things with legislative changes. And I can go on and on. So
Constitutional reform as well.
constitutional reform, a big manifesto promise. I sent out the letters inviting suitably qualified persons. Well, I sent out the letters to the stakeholders who are to be consulted and who are to submit their nominees for appointment by the president, as set out in the legislation. I have kickstarted that process, and I'm now in the process of working to staff the secretariat that will support the commission in the discharge of its statutory duties. All these things are happening at the same time. So 2024 is a very exciting and will be a challenging year, but we have a budget that is spectacular. It strikes that balance in every respect. It caters for the big businesses, it caters for the middle class, it caters for the ordinary working people, and it has a host of measures for the vulnerable in our country. An objective opposition should support this budget. But you will hear the empty rhetoric and you will hear the baseless criticisms that will come from a hopeless bunch. You will hear about corruption. This time they are salivating. They are salivating with the amount of money that is in this budget. They are just thinking, imagine if they were in. Remember when they were in, the thing that constantly increased in their expenditure was not in the area of poverty alleviation, but dietary in government. Remember? They ate so much that the dietary bill went up by 2 billion. The cost of their traveling overseas, the cost of ceremonies and activities. They had the biggest matrimony sport, the biggest independent sport. They had Mash Fete in Brooklyn and all over the United States, in Toronto and so on. That is what they were good for. But let them identify one single investor that they brought. Let them identify one wealth creation project that they pursued or policy. They can't point to one. They can't point to one. I heard Norton said that we stole his idea by signing the contract to construct the Demerara Bridge across the Wismar Bridge across the Demerara River. Can you imagine that level of stupidity? The bridge was falling on how many years? That's somebody's idea. We're going to fix it and build a new bridge. We're building a bridge across the Quarantine River too. We're building a bridge across the Demerara River. That's somebody's idea. We're fixing all the roads in the country. It's somebody's idea for it to be fixed. But an idea with no action. Norton was not even in the last government. He was running some department in sports, empowerment something. So you will hear that level of argument coming in the budget debate. But I'm trusting that the Guyanese people will listen to reason and do their own analysis. I'm not asking you to accept everything I'm saying. I am asking you to tell me whether I am lying. Tell me a singular, factually inaccurate statement that I have made about the government and about the opposition. One factually inaccurate statement, and I will apologize publicly. I'll let them look at what I've said, look at the budgets and the policies and decisions made by the previous government, look at this budget, look at what I have said, and look at the policies here. And if you don't agree with me, then I can't help you. Something is wrong with you.
AG, I want to thank you so much for spending a good amount of time in breaking down Budget 2024 for all of us here today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my friend. Thank you.
You've heard from the Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General Mohabir Anil Nandlall on Budget 2024. Stay with us as we continue to bring you more updates and more conversations surrounding the budget themed Staying the Course, Building Prosperity for All.